Welcome guys, fellow YouTubers. So today we're going to talk about how to tune a snare drum and achieve a professional level sound in a short amount of time. Now, this isn't the set way on how to tune a snare drum. As you probably already know or don't know, there's millions of different ways to tune snare drums. Today we are going to specifically concentrate on getting you out of a sticky situation. Like, for instance, let's say you have multiple gigs and you show up to your gig and you only have 5 minutes to tune your snare drum. And on top of things, let's say it's not even your snare drum. Let's say it's a backline kit. And at that point, you don't even know if the heads are new. So for that purpose, I am using my snare drum, which is a brass snare drum. It's not a wood snare drum, but for the purpose of this video, this will apply to any snare drum you have. And let's get right into it because I don't want to waste any of your time and you could probably be using this information right now. All right, guys. So this is the snare drum, obviously, and as you can see, got everything loose, okay? Now, to save time for the video, I went ahead and finger tightened all my tension rods because this is very important if you are going to tune a snare drum. You want to make sure that when you are starting out that all of your tension rods are at finger tight, which is it's like just like a unity gain, you know, in audio terms. You want to start out with everything being at a nominal level, right? Okay, so as you can see here, you can see wrinkles around this entire snare. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of those wrinkles, and you don't have to start from this lug and then come here, and so you don't have to do that. You can go clockwise with this. So let's get into it, okay? So you see the stick here is because I wanted to make sure that my snares are separated from my bottom head, because that's super important. You want your snare separated from your reso head while you're tuning your reso head so you can actually hear the drum. Okay, right into it. So we're starting here. Remember what I said. You want to keep track of where you started. You know, that's super big. You want to keep track of where you start tuning your drum. Okay, so we're starting with the bottom head. We're starting at this lug right here. Okay, so we're gonna go here, and you see these wrinkles are gonna start disappearing. Okay, and then I've kept track so that I know that I'm turning the same time, the same amount of times every turn, right? And we're not trying to get this ready right immediately. We're just trying to get these wrinkles out of here because that's super important. Okay, so you see I'm doing the same amount of turning every time, and the wrinkles are going away. You see? Then you come here, finish this, come here, finish that. Now, this would obviously go faster if you had 2 drum keys, but, you know, this is for a scenario, you don't have a drum dial, you do not have a tune bot. You're going off of sound. You're going off of acoustics. You're going off of what you have because you're a gigging musician and this is what's going to get you through, okay? So we've made it all the way around the bottom, right? We notice it's still a little, it's not tight all the way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start tightening this thing and I'm going to start hitting it and making sure that I'm keeping things relatively at the same level, and I'm going to go around the whole kit, and I'm just going to keep doing this until I achieve the tightness I want. The tightness I want to achieve is I want to have a tighter reso head than a tighter batter head, and the reason why I'm doing that is because for the type of sound that I want a crunchy sound out of my snare. I want a nice clean pop. You know, like popcorn. That's kind of how I picture it, like popcorn. You know, like I want my snare to have a great punchy attack, but at the same time have the sustain of a warm body snare, but I'm capturing a brighter sound with my brass drum. You know, because this is a brass drum. You know, like for instance, this is it's a very warm, high, cut through type of sound because of, you know, the hand hammered brass material. Wood is a more warmer material, so it expands, it contracts due to temperature, so it's a little different on how you tune it. But the good thing is the method I'm showing you right now will work with pretty much any snare drum. The main thing though, if you're doing it with wood, you really, like I said, need to keep track of how you are doing these things. You really need to pay attention to how you're doing it. And you see, I just switched my method because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm keeping track. I know that these guys are pretty much relatively ready to go. And like you could pretty much go right now if you wanted. I could just flip this thing over right now and I could play as it is right now. Okay? And we are about to get there right now. All right, this guy is pretty much ready to go. We got him pretty tight, sounding pretty much the same all around. At this point, just put your snares on, flip this bad boy over. If you get this top head dialed in, you get it tight, and you hit it and it's still not sounding, you know, the way you want it, it's okay. Just take your time, flip it over, tighten those bottom tension rods a little more, and you're pretty much going to be there. So when we get further in, I'm going to talk about moon gels. I'm going to talk about drum rings to help with the sound, overtones of the snare drum, which is a common thing. And if you're playing a live gig, that might be an issue with whoever your sound engineer is, because as you can see, you know, if you have a lot of overtones, that might conflict with a lot of things. So sometimes you just need a nice clean cut attack. So we're gonna get you there. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to play a funk gig, okay? Right, so we kind of want that, we want that little, you know. Well, let's say, you know, that ring, you know, you hear that ring, that overtone. Well, you don't want that in your recording. Okay, so then I just come down here and I loosen these bottom lugs here because that controls overtones on your snare drum. And then I can just come here and I can tighten these to make sure the attack is nice and bright and it'll cut through. And keep in mind, this is not using any moon gels either. This is just tightening and then loosening your overtones. Right? Okay, so I'm pretty much almost there, right? But I'm noticing there's a little bit of some vibration going on down here. So what I'm going to do is the same process, right? Come here, tighten this, 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 tighten this. Okay. All right, so let's say, you know, that's a pretty decent sound for what we've got. You know, these heads are pretty worn out. You know, there you go. Right? So now I want to make it pretty dead. So what I want to do is, since I loosened these, now I can just take my moon gel and just put it here. What? What? Well, there you go, guys. And then you can also use tape. So let's say you don't have drum dots or you don't have moon gels. And I almost forgot about that. Sorry about that. But you can use tape. Now, this is console tape, but let's say you've got some gaff tape or you've got some painter's tape or you've got some, you know, just whatever tape you have. You know, preferably if you could keep it with gaff or painter's tape, that would be great. Because, like, you know, strong tape can peel things, so you want to keep that in mind. But it's crazy what you can do with just very little resources, what the sounds you can create, literally just using these very common appliances that you can buy at, you know, any store. Making it, you know, fold together like this, and then Same thing. Same, literally same. Another thing that you guys have probably seen are these things. These are great. These will definitely save you time tuning these drums, especially when you got to tune them very quickly. And, you know, and then take it off. So there you guys have it. You know, that's a very fast way to tune a snare drum. Requires not a lot of effort. You don't really have to hear your drum to tune it, and that's the important thing, because you might be in situations where you can't even hear your instrument because it's so loud because they're doing a sound check and you just got to go, you know. And so that is one of those methods. Thank you so much, and hope you guys will subscribe or give me a like. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.